Hi, my name's Oscar. I'm JT's son. Do you want to know how my dad makes 808s? Stay tuned.
DelicateBeats.com.
Alright guys, I'm super sick today, so bear with me. I'm trying to stay warm in the studio. Let's hear the first two sounds I started my session with. First we have a loop that's going to be part of a brand new trap kit product that we'll be releasing later this year. And then we have this 808, which is part of Sweet, a product that's available at delicatebeats.com. Alright, now let me show you what I've cooked up with these two sounds. Alright, so as you can see, there's two parts to the beat, kind of the main verse part or chorus part, and then we have this breakdown type of sequence here. I'm going to reconstruct the first part here. So let's look at what I've done to the loop to personalize it a bit more. It sounds like this in its original state. So I've moved it up 2 semitones higher, and I removed most of the low end to make room for the 808 and even some of the low mids. I thought it was a bit boomy as it was. And then I've applied this Valhalla vintage verb, then a low pass, and then this Shaper Box plugin, which allows me in this case with this preset to move around in the sample in time and play just certain bars or certain beats, I should say, of the original sample. And because of the reverb on each beat, it creates kind of an interesting artifact that I've decided to keep. That's it for the sample. I've got also an OTT just to bring out some of the higher frequencies. And finally, I'm basically sidechaining it using the LFO tool. So I always start my beats with either a melody or some chords. Then what I'll do usually is just add a simple snare or clap just to get some kind of feel for rhythm, but without filling the rhythm too much, because I want the 808 to drive that rhythm. Once I've got my sample or chords going and I've got a clap, I'm going to just groove to this little beat that I have in a loop and try to come up with a rhythm that's going to be the foundation for my 808 line. So once I have that in my head, I pretty much know where it's going to reside on the grid. So what I'll do, let me take the original 808 and copy it right here. I'm going to deactivate all of my plugin chain for now. And let's listen to what we have now. So as you can hear, the 808 is not in tune with my song. Best trick to find the exact key of an 808 is to move it up by an octave and then just move around. Obviously, Ableton Live makes it very easy to find this note using pitch shifting in real time. So now that we have found the key of the track, we can move it back down an octave. And then I'll just copy and paste random notes like that and just hear the beat and try to figure out what's the best way to go about for the groove. So maybe something like that. And then we had this little stutter at the end. Alright, so now that we have kind of a basic groove for the 808, it's time to shape it up a bit more using, distortion and EQ and compression and all that. Usually, because I mix as I go, when I get closer to kind of the final product, I get more inspired for the melody or the bass line in this case, so that's what we'll do. A great way to make an 808 more musical is to use distortion, because it brings out a lot of higher frequencies and it makes it easier to hear a melody or a bass line in this case. And my favorite go-to plugin for 808 distortion is Serum FX. If you have the soft synth, when you install it, you'll also get this Serum FX plugin, which is none of the... Actually, you can still use it. Oh, okay. But basically, it just comes up by default as the effects tab. And the distortion algorithms in there are absolutely fabulous for 808 distortion. In this case, I'm using the asymmetrical algorithm, and I'm rolling off most of the high frequencies. So here it sounds like with the distortion. And then I'm using some sidechain compression to the kick track. In this case, we have no kick, but we'll sort that problem out very quickly. Followed by an auto filter, just to remove some of the higher frequencies. And finally an EQ to remove most of the frequencies that'll reside in the vocal range. So now we have this. Which sounds pretty good. And then real quick, what I'll usually do is just copy a kick to pretty much all of my 808 hits. In this case, I think I went something like this. All right. And actually, I think I had a kick right here. And I didn't have that kick. So let's hear this now. So just a little gap here makes it more interesting to have this interplay between the kick and the 808. It makes it a bit less predictable. And just for good measure, I'm just going to copy and paste my hi-hats. So we have a good groove and we have a good mix. Now it's time to find this bass line. So we're going down here by, I think it's 4 semitones. 4. Let's listen to that. And then we're going up here. I think it's by a 5th and an octave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then an octave. And then these guys are up a 5th, but going down an octave. So we have down by 4 semitones, up by an octave and a 5th, and then down an octave. So usually just going, higher for 1 or 2 semitones is interesting, and then you have 5ths. And then obviously one of the main, the most used trick is to go up and down an octave. So now we have this. right, so the last trick I want to show you is how to create slides. Let's go. So we are going down and we make the note die off at the end. And usually I like to, when I'm going down, to have just this acceleration at the very end to mimic the tape stop effect. And we can try lower, but in this case I think I like 4 semitones actually. And usually when I have a note die out, I'll usually have the next one come back like this. And I think I also had this note die out like so. Let's just compare with the original. We had this. Oh, this one's dying out actually. Alright, let's just copy. And then that's pretty much it. So just 2 automations basically. And that's it, folks. First we find a groove, then we find some notes, and finally we automate the pitch to achieve those nice little slides. We're not done yet. We have the second portion, which acts more as a breakdown. And the first thing I did on this one was to use the infamous halftime effect. All right, and because of the way the Shaperbox plugin works, when you play it for the first time, you miss this first beat. So I decided to resample my sound to have this instead. And on our second 808, I decided to use a different distortion. Let's listen to the original sound. So it sounds like at the beginning, but instead I changed the algorithm in this case for the X shaper, and I rolled off a lot of the high frequencies just to give it a more ominous feel. And I also like to change the groove, make it simpler, change the automations. So with the sidechain and the low pass, we get this. With the sample, and now we have a solid foundation for a full track. And this is all I had for you guys today. Thank you for watching the video. If you liked the information, like the video, share it on social media, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, use the comments below. Again, my name is JT for delicatebeats.com, signing out.